Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butts-Chester. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we are talking about the Song of Solomon. My guest today is Kenneth Klarner, and I'm really excited to talk to him about his book. Now, you know what I'm going to say. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Kenneth. Thank you so much for joining us for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Good morning.
I'm really excited to talk to you about your book today, but before we do that, I would love to know, I usually read people's bios and all of that, but there's nothing like hearing it from the person themselves. So the first question for you is what makes Kenneth? How have the lessons of your life made you the person that you are today?
Well, I don't know. I graduated from University of Wisconsin in 1969. Had a few jobs. One was income tax. After that, I've had a lot of time that I didn't do a lot. There were times when the years were like there was a gas station that I worked at, and a Piggly Wiggly store, and those are the things that I did before I actually started writing. I wrote a few books, more than this Song of Solomon. Remastered, actually, is the title of the book, and that would be about it.
So is being an author one of the many things that you thought that you would accomplish in your life?
Yeah, I kind of thought that. I didn't know that I was going to be on Song of Solomon, that book of the Bible in particular, but I had some idea of being an author.
Now, the title of your book, Song of Solomon Remastered, did you find that when you were writing that the title came out of your writings, or did the title come to you first?
Well, I had to figure out what I was doing with the Song of Solomon. It was not a actual copy of the book of the Bible. It was different than it was, and so I added the word remastered as part of the way I had of dealing with it. I consider it a remastering of the Song of Solomon, so that would be why I did.
So in that same vein, then, someone may say, well, if you have remastered the book of the Bible, did you take something out? Did you add something in? How should we understand what you've done?
Well, I didn't take anything out. I have, in my book, I add a index. I have some comments, which are addition, you might call it, and that as the last part of the book is written, I added appendix, and there's more than one appendix, which are actual Bible verses. And I also added a little section in Global Summit House version, which is, by the way, they provide ebook. You might be able to get a hold of the Philistine connection to that, which is probably a little different than the Song of Solomon in the Bible, and also the cover of the magazine of the it's a book. It's a chariot with being pulled by a horse, and there's a woman who is the woman of the Song of Solomon woman, plus somebody that is like a prince. So that is the connection there. There is a prince, and I consider him to be a son of one listed as the son of Solomon. No, one listed as the son of Rehoboam, actually, and he is apparently. My idea is that he was actually the father of the woman. So there is no connection in there with this prince. Yeah, some of the versions of the Bible, which is our Song of Solomon, of course, don't consider him a prince. They consider him an official. But these are wrong or mistranslation. I believe it is a word prince. So that's the connection of the cover.
Mm-hmm. And what made you decide that now is the time for this book? Was there any particular motivation that said, "Yep, right now, now is the time that this needs to be released"?
No, it's just that I started studying the Song of Solomon. There were some parts of it that I looked at differently. There were two separate lines in the Song of Solomon. One of them had the watchman of the walls going past the lady goes past them with nothing happening, and in the other one, the woman has apparently, according to the people talking to her about it, been assaulted. So there were two different things. That was the one of the main basic things. The other, there's a connection that reminded me more of Rehoboam, because it wasn't Solomon. Solomon, you see, had 1,000 wives, supposedly, according to the Bible, and the Rehoboam is 60 plus 80. In a way, it's not what I consider 60 plus 80, but there's 60 women involved in a harem, basically. But Rehoboam had two queens, 18 wives, which makes 20, and then there's these 60 further people, further women, that makes 80. So 60 and 80 is what the Song of Solomon says, but I think it's 60 plus 20. So that was the other thing.
Why did you choose to? Do you think that you would have written a book dealing with the Song of Solomon if you had not started reading the biblical Song of Solomon?
Well, in the Bible, no, of course not. I basically started out by reading the Song of Solomon in the Bible. I've looked through the Bible, and the Song of Solomon is a very distinct book in general. It's not really connected like the other Bible books, like the Book of Kings or the Chronicles. Those are books of kings, the list of kings, more or less.
Now, in your book, who is the little sister that is referred to?
Okay, that I consider, first of all, that it was written in the time of King Rehoboam, which is in, say, 900 BC, and then you have King Hezekiah in 700 BC, and this is the time of the little sister. There's really two lines, two verses, something like that. That really are the idea. The little sister is Samaria, the city of Samaria, and the big sister is the city of Jerusalem. The idea is that Samaria is hopefully a door to the Assyrian army that was coming against the area at this time, and the other way, the other opportunity, she's not a wall. So those were the two possibilities that Samaria had. The people of Jerusalem, the leaders, in other words, wanted to encourage Samaria to be a door to the Sumerians. So it didn't turn out that way, but that's what they were hoping for. And my idea is that these lines that were written in the time of Rehoboam, King Rehoboam, were carried down through the time of King Hezekiah by being written in short lines, various different ways of writing them, but they were given to the wealthy people of the area and sold, and they were preserved, in other words, down to the time of Hezekiah. So that by the time of King Hezekiah, you had a wish to revive past greatness. For instance, calling it the Song of Solomon. This is one possibility that I think was why it was called Song of Solomon. It's really not a book about Solomon at all. It's about King Rehoboam.
Now, you make reference to, or many times people ask the question of you, that there's something about goats and the significance or the insignificance. Can you touch on that as well?
Yeah. The goats idea is sort of a humorous thing that was written into the account. It was probably a separate section. There was a spring locked up, a sealed water fountain, and that's the kind of things that a goat might want to get into trouble. And goats would be what they'd want with a goat bounding about in the hills. It's like a stag and everything. The female goat sort of treats him like a stag. He's also not only browsing in the lilies in the garden, in other words, eating the flowers. He's grazing, but I use the word gra and then zing, so to imply the grazing idea. Now, that's the idea of the goats. They're very they're humorous part of the thing. Similarly, you have humor from different, probably the audience of women in the harem was making like heckler comments to the people that were talking. One possibility is the idea of Lebanon, and the heckler would interrupt them by saying the haunts of leopards, the caves of mountain lands. So that's different things like that, and there's another section where the women would probably be the cause. Somebody is speaking, and he's calling them. He's talking about the wedding night of one of the queens, a new queen probably, and the heckler says that just quiet, and the sh shush, and that's why they changed it then to Terrors of the Night. Otherwise, there's no good way to explain Terrors of the Night. That's how I explain it.
It is almost time for us to go to break, but before we do, Kenneth, please, could you remind everyone what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how can we stay in contact with you?
Well, the title of the book is Song of Solomon Remastered, unless you have the Global Summit House edition, which adds the title Expanded Edition. And my name starts with a K. It's Klarner. And there is a ex libris version that was written in 2003. That was my original one. It's been republished by Zeta Publishing, which is in Florida, and Global Summit House, as I said, is in New York. So you would be able to get at least a copy of the ebook.
Alrighty, listeners. Now you know where you can get a copy. We'll be back right after this.
Discovery. No, just a sec.
What would it look like if we listened more? Could the right voice, the right set of words, bring us all just a little closer? Get us to open up, even push us further? It could, if we took the time to listen. The most inspiring minds, the most compelling stories. Download Audible and listen for a change.
We're home during COVID-19, but we're not alone. New Life Pastoral Counseling can help. For affordable Christian counseling, visit newlifepastoralcounseling.com or call 562-209-2083 today.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butts-Chester. You know what I like to do on the show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you, and I hope that you are having an especially great morning today. My guest is, I'm tongue-tied there. My guest is Kenneth Klarner, and we are talking about his book, Song of Solomon Remastered. So my next question for you, Kenneth, is what was the source that is being used for your book? You may have touched on it before previously, but can you remind us again, what was the source for your book?
Well, in the Hebrew to English translation of the Bible, there is the Song of Solomon is included. It's also what I used for the New International Bible, New International Version, which is a little different than the King James Version of the Bible. So if you have differences in from the exact wording, it's not you aren't wrong, because it's not the same as the King James Version, but it is a version that is accepted. It's the New International Version.
Did you have any particular challenges when you were writing the book? Sometimes authors say that they have writer's block, or they have to decide once it's all out what to edit. Do I take more out? Do I need to add more in? Did you have any particular pros or cons while you were writing?
I didn't really. I use just notebook and I write in pencil. So I just whatever is on the page there, just filling the notebook. I did did a little rewriting of the different parts, because I wanted to have it complete, and yet in general that's the way it went. Pencil version of the different pages of the book. The Song of Solomon is nothing more than 8 chapters. It's a little section of the Bible. It's located after the book of Ecclesiastes, and after Proverbs, and after Psalms. So that's where it is in the Bible. By the way, that's also I know lately it's been read by the Jewish community at Passover. It's part of their Passover time, which was just passed in March. So that's also something to take into account if you are interested in finding out what my ideas are. I think that the Solomon connection might also be interesting, because you have it's wisdom. That's the idea of the woman asking the king to be wise. In effect, she by calling him Solomon. So that plus there's a carriage litter that apparently Rehoboam may have inherited. That's also Solomon's carriage. So that's the connection of Solomon. So I think that that's about how the writing was done.
Now, did you find that when you were writing that you needed a particular atmosphere or environment? It used to be that in the movies someone would say, I'm an author, and they would show that they would go off to the cabin for, a month. It was them, their typewriter, and, snacks. Do you need it to be a particular atmosphere around you, extreme quiet, or do you like to write with the television on? What seems to work best for you?
Well, I would be mainly writing something in my room, just laying on the bed. I write at night sometimes when there's no TV or anything on, unless I want it to be on. But at the time I was writing Song of Solomon Remastered, I used to sometimes watch like MTV or something like that. Music. I enjoy music and that, but it wasn't. It isn't something that I surrounded myself with in my room. So basically.
Now, my next question for you is dealing with success. When someone asks, what does success look like? It's a car or a house or, X amount of money in the bank or whatever someone thinks success is, a family and 2.3 kids and a dog. But when it comes to literary success, I love asking this question because it varies, as do people vary. So my question for you is, what do you think literary success looks like? And how do you know when you have achieved it?
Well, the success that I have with getting a book written is, first of all, that I did get the book written. I spent money to write to have the thing published, and so that's the first thing. But this radio interview is a very good second step. Now the other side of the success story is what happens afterward. Again, I love to hear the different answers that people give, because you never know what's going to make someone smile, like what brightens their day, what helps them achieve the things that they ultimately want to achieve. So I can definitely understand that. I agree. I think doing this program is one way that I help all the authors that I have on achieve a portion or a step of their literary success, because you guys have written such awesome books, and people need to know that they're out there. So if I can be a step on that path, then so be it. I absolutely love it. Now, my last question for you is dealing with the person who says that I want to be a writer, but I'm just not sure what to do. Like, I don't know how to get started. Do you have any bits of advice for them, any pieces of wisdom that you can pass on to the person who wants to be an author but hasn't stepped out in the writing process yet? Well, I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on this, but since it is my first book, but if people would buy the book and would write to me any comments that they have, I'd be able to get this. I don't have an email, but if they'd send me a letter to the Global Summit House or to Zeta, they'd hopefully get that to me. Maybe a collection of different comments about the book would be something that they'd get a way of doing their writing. So this would be one thing that would work. Write about my book. But then you'd have to have a copy of my book and so on. So hopefully that'd be something to do. Yeah.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Well, Kenneth, thank you so much for not only coming on and sharing about your book, but passing on your tidbits of wisdom as well. One last time, if you would please, before I let you go, can you remind everyone what is the title of your book and where can we pick up a copy?
Well, the title of the book is Song of Solomon Remastered. At least it was for the Ex Libris version. For the Zeta version, the Global Summit House version adds the words Expanded Edition. My name is Klarner, the last name. You can call me Ken, but the title is the title I use is Kenneth Klarner, and so it's in at least the ebook form by Global Summit House, and all three of those versions would be sold. In the Ex Libris copy, you might be aware, is a little more expensive. I don't know why, but they did. That's the way they did. I'm sorry. So, thank you.
No worries. Thank you again for being on the show today. And listeners, thank you for tuning in and spending some of your morning with me as well. As always, may you continue to have God's face shine upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Bye-bye, everyone.